So what have we learned? Let's go with Sophia. Sophia, what have we learned? Go ahead.
On this page, we learn how
Sophia, go ahead. Okay, Sophia, so let's just make sure that we are actively listening. I'm going to mute you. Let's hear from another scholar. What have we learned, William? Go ahead, William. I'm unmuting you. William, let's make sure that we are paying attention. What have we learned so far, Adrian?
what?
Adrian, what have we learned so far in our story?
In our story, what we have learned so far was that
All right, Adrian, let's just make sure that we are paying attention. Scholars, make sure that you have your volumes up and you are paying attention as we're reading the story, because we have to create these connections in order to determine what our main idea is. So far what we've learned is that she started to umpire for local teams. Eventually, she was asked to umpire for the championship semi-pro team, and she was even going to get paid for this. So this means that she was actually really good at baseball. Okay, let's keep reading and determine what is the author's point of view. Making history. The large crowd watched in disbelief as the 5'10" 16-year-old took her position behind the pitcher's mound, where Empire stood. She was about to become the first female paid to umpire a baseball game. Strike, ball, safe, out. Amanda was calm and confident and made her calls fairly. She was right on the spot, watching closely as each play was made. News of Amanda's expert umpire spread. Newspaper reporters said that she knows her baseball book, is the possessor of an eagle eye, and is absolutely fair. Managers began to ask for her first when they needed an umpire. Okay, so we are going to take a pause. And I want you to think about, what have we learned in this section? Brian, go ahead.
I learned in this section that what was her name? Oh, Amanda's was playing in the baseball, and she became famous because she was doing so good that everyone started making newspapers, and people started calling her things like the possessor of an eagle eye, and she became so famous that she also had fans too.
Yep, thank you, Brian. So we learned that Amanda becomes a pretty famous umpire. So an umpire is not an actual person who is playing in the game, but she is the person who is watching the game and checking if there's any strikes, if the ball is safe, if the ball is out. So she became a famous umpire. So she knows the rules very well of baseball. All right, scholars, think about what does this reveal about the author's point of view? So what does this reveal about the author's point of view? Just take a few seconds to think about that. All right, can I have Siaka share out your thoughts? Go ahead, Siaka.
So, when you were reading the story, I already know she was a famous umpire that she knows the rules very well about baseball, and then she can tell her what you should do right and what you should not do, and then she she was famous that they might have they have newspapers, and then they or maybe they can just put her in the news.
Thank you, Siaka. I'm going ahead and muting you. So Siaka mentioned a lot of evidence that is included in the story about her success, how she was able to get on the newspaper, and she got fame from being an umpire. So we're going to conclude that the author also agrees that she was a good umpire and that she was a well-liked umpire as well. So that is going to be our point of view. Let's go ahead and keep reading. Amanda was popular with the fans too. She makes a hit with the crowd when she throws up her right arm and shouts, "Strike," wrote a reporter. At one game, the spectators weren't happy with the umpire and insisted on replacing him with Amanda. They decided to collect the money to pay her and hired a car to take her to the game. Amanda became a big attraction. Posters that said, "The only lady umpire in the world," drew large crowds to games. She made an inspiring sight on the baseball diamond. Her uniform was a white blouse, blue ankle-length skirt, cap, and black necktie. Later, she wore a shirt with UMPS on the front. In those early days of baseball, crowds threw bottles at male umpires and shouted insults like, "Kill the umpire." But Amanda usually received polite comments such as, "Beg your pardon, Miss Umpire, but wasn't that one a big high?" And if a player was unruly, she wasn't afraid to stand up to him or take action. Once she threw out 6 players in a game. Okay, so that is the end of our story. And we are going to take a few minutes to just put together what we think the story is mostly teaching us about. Okay, so I am going to have Ariana. Ariana, share your thoughts. What is the story mostly teaching us about?
I would say that this story mostly teaching about that. Since Amanda was like playing like the baseball stuff, and like she threw out like it's said that once she threw out 6 players in that game, I would say that never to give up because it took her time to like make all the players like go away and by by the sentence when it says once she threw out 6 players in the game, that sentence already known tells you what is the lesson learned, and that's how I knew what the lesson learned is and from the whole text.
Thank you, Ariana. So it's important for us to realize that it did take Amanda time to become as successful as she was. And eventually, even though people doubted her, she became a really good umpire, and a lot of people wanted to hire her. All right, so I want you to think about, what is the author's point of view? We just went over this, so you should already know what is the author's point of view. Let's go with Yordi. Yordi, go ahead. I'm unmuting you. Share with us, what is the author's point of view?
The author's point of view that Amanda was a good baseball player, and a lot of people liked her.
Thank you, Jordy. So we know Amanda was a really good umpire. It's a bit different from being an actual baseball player, like I just mentioned. Being an umpire is her being mostly in charge of determining if the ball is out, if the ball is in, if the ball is safe. So it's a bit different from being an actual player. But yes, she was a really good umpire. And even though she was a woman, she was still really good at what she did. So that is what the author is trying to have us see in the story. Okay, so with the time remaining, we are going to go into Go Formative. So you have 2 minutes to log into Go Formative. And we are going to write about what the main idea of this story is. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing and join your breakout room.
Nevin and Ramatu, join your breakout room. Sally Matu, Prince Samaya, join the breakout room. If you're not in a breakout room, I'm putting 2 minutes on the timer. You have that amount of time to get started. If you cannot find the assignment, you will chat me right away. I just put the link in the chat. Samaya. Let's go, Abigail. Get started on your main idea. Thank you, Mikaya, who I see has his tablet out and has got it started already. Point to you. Natalia, you need to be writing your main idea. Abigail, now it's a warning. You should be on formative typing. There's about 10 seconds left on my timer. So Luis, I see that you haven't logged in yet. Mikaya, what's the issue you're having?
I don't have any issue.
Okay, you haven't logged in yet though. Luis, come back to Zoom and unmute. Luis, why haven't you logged into Go Formative yet?
I'm already. I am in Go Formative. Oops.
Abigail, second warning, put your fingers on the keyboard and type your main idea. Daleen, put your main idea in thinking jobs. Mikaya, sit up and continue writing your main idea. Samaya, what you wrote on Go Formative was not a main idea. Go back and revise it so that it's organized into main idea jots. You have about 4 more minutes to finish up your main idea. Natalia, all you have is your thinking jobs. Keep writing. Yordi, go back to your main idea and think about the genre. This is not a nonfiction text. What is your question? Three more minutes. Sophia, my feedback to you is the same as everyone else's. Go organize your main idea into thinking jobs for fiction. We write main ideas on formative the same way we write main ideas in real school, because this is real school. One more minute. Luis, why is your main idea incomplete? All I see is the CPSLL.
Trying to think.
So you had almost 10 minutes to do a main idea and you did nothing. Okay, we're about to come back, so if you're still on Go Formative, come back to the main room now.
Welcome back, scholars. So let's take 5 seconds just to finish jotting down any last minute thoughts on your responses. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Cameras on, sit up straight, eyes on me. All right, scholars. So I just see some very, very good responses. I want Brian to share out his response. I think he got a very good gist of what the main idea was. Go ahead, Brian.
So my main idea, Jot, is for my characters, I put Amanda, and I wrote her as hardworking because it takes a lot of work to be in the champion game. And for the problem, I wrote that Amanda was worried about if her brother would let her play because she's a girl, and usually they only let boys play. And for my solution, I wrote she played in the champion game, and she was so good in the champion game that she became a famous girl umpire. And for my lesson learned, I wrote believe in yourself.
Awesome. Points to Brian. Brian, you completely got the whole main idea of the story. And you worded it very well. So awesome job, scholars. Well, that is our close reading lesson for today. We will go into break now. Yep, we will go into break, scholars. I believe you can stay in the room if you want to hang out with your teachers, or you can leave the meeting if you want to come back to break. Make sure you're back by 10:15, and if you want to be early, make sure you're back by 10:12.
Okay, bye.
I think it.
Which teachers are staying for break 1?
Oh, I'm staying for break. So scholars, if you want to stay for break, you can play a game with me. I've got some games.
Dictionary!
You can play Pictionary. I've got a few.
People keeps chatting me and I don't like it.
Silly. So yes, scholars, you are free to go unless you want to hang out with me and Miss Pena.
Yep, I'm also staying for break.
Okay.
My mom let me borrow her light. It's very fancy. Yeah.
You look very well lit, Aisha.
He has my own little
Okay, so for games today, we've got our usual options of Pictionary. Chat me, don't just shout it out because it's too much noise and I can't actually hear. So chat me if you want to play Pictionary Hangman. I also thought of 2 new games we could do.
Okay, what's the new game?
It's charades. Does anyone know how to play charades?
I know.